What's going on, all you wild creep show enthusiasts out there? Your two favorite George Romero fans are back tonight, and we're going to be talking about the entire four-season run. It's currently streaming on Shudder. We're talking about all 6 episodes of Creepshow.
Sacrifice must be made.
This is it for you. Did you just Patrick Swayze that boss?
Don't tell her we're dead. They're dead.
Oh.
That's right. These two wild ghouls are back talking about one of our favorite series on Shudder. What we always talk about during the Halloween season, 31 Days of Horror. We reviewed the first episode, but tonight we're back talking about the entire season 4, 6 episodes. We always have a great time with this, being huge horror fans. You know, you have all the big names of horror, on this show, if they're not directing, starring, or producing, or doing stuff behind the camera. They're all involved with this, and it always shows. There's a lot of labor, love in this. Each story is always different. A lot of creature and monsters showing up along the way, but Greg Nicotero behind this, it's in good hands. But this season we have 6 episodes. The first episode we talked about 20 minutes with Cassandra and Smile, really great startup of the season. And then in episode 2, which I really enjoyed, was called The Hat and Grieving Process. But The Hat is much like a Stephen King story where this writer has writer's block, puts the hat on, gets all these crazy ideas, starts writing, gets in like a trance, and then he can't really control it anymore. Really cool.
Yeah, that was a cool premise. Reminded me of The Shining when he gets writing. And he's writing like thousands of pages at a time from this magical hat that he puts on. He's able to produce all these novels. But as soon as somebody takes away the hat, he kind of loses his power, can't write again, and kind of spirals out of control. Pretty cool. Yeah, I love this series, just the campiness of it, that aspect. And I like how each episode is split into 2. So, you get one 20-minute bite, then you get another small bite-sized fun episodes, and each having to do with a different element of horror. There was a lot of good episodes this season. We got to see, like a play on Little Red Riding Hood. So that one was interesting. I remember that one. And then we had the episode Meet the Belascos, which reminded me a lot of like what we do in the shadows with the vampire family. And this, the next door neighbor falling in love with the teenage girl who's a vampire, and like with the family knowing that they're vampires and being like, you can't go out with her, she's a vampire. And then the families get into a fight. It's kind of like, what would you do if the neighbor was a vampire kind of story. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it reminded me of Friday Night too. That episode in particular. Also reminded me of an episode of, if you remember this, Are You Afraid of the Dark with the vampires? I don't know if you remember that episode, the kid and the family. That's what it reminded me of. And it kind of felt like in the same vein of like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like really nostalgic 90s vibe to it. And really enjoyed episode 4 a lot. One of my favorite ones. And the second part of that was Cheat Code. About the video game between the father and the son, which we were laughing about over the weekend.
Yeah, Lachlan Monroe, who we just saw in Totally Killer. Yeah. Remember him from a lot of the movies, early 2000s.
Scary movie.
Comedic actor, recognizable. Playing the dad, who's just like a really nice guy trying to bond with his son. His son's, a teenager, doesn't really want him around when he's playing video games with his friends. But being an older dad, he used to play video games. They find this old game and they're both trying to beat it. So like he wants to spend time with the son and try to beat this game, but the son's not really interested in spending time with them, but they get so addicted eventually. And it's a kind of a cool twist on playing this game and needing this cheat code in order to conquer the game. But eventually it brings the two together. It's kind of one of the lighthearted episodes of Creepshow, and nobody dies or anything like that. It's kind of a lighthearted one, but pretty cool nonetheless. Enjoyed episode 4 for what it was too.
Yeah, episode 5 is pretty good too. The second part of that episode I enjoy more than the first part. The first part is Something Borrowed. And then the second part, which is really cool, is called Something Blue and Doodles. She's like an artist going to get a job for a magazine and drawing up that and, corporate America and all the shadiness that goes on. But she gets frustrated and she's like doodling on these on these pictures and the people end up dying and stuff like
Mhm.
that. She has some sort of power and some really gruesome kill scenes in that episode in particular.
Yeah, the bigwig she meets with in order to get the job. He ends up kind of passing on her, makes her mad. She starts drawing, and basically she draws a guy falling off like a 2-story balcony, whatever. So when she's drawing that, it immediately happens. That guy dies, and she's able to eventually work for that company that he was not going to let her do. So like she has a power in drawing these doodles. Pretty cool episode. I enjoyed that one too. That was the stronger of the two. And then, we have episode 6, George Romero in 3D, which was probably my favorite one. What they
Yes.
did, just an obvious, throwback to Night of the Living Dead, and, bringing back George Romero in the form of kind of the drawing, how he's kind of like halfway living between an illustration in this world. And, I like that whole concept. Basically, a struggling bookstore owner finds like unpublished works from George Romero. And eventually it brings him back to life, and you get like a new kind of Night of the Living Dead movie in this episode. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Nicotero got his career started with Romero, so it's obviously a love letter to George Romero, which we were both super excited for since we saw the title before this came out. Like that's going to be a good one, and definitely was the best episode, the last episode of the season. First part being George Romero in 3D, finding these unpublished works of George Romero, and the zombies coming to life, and man, they're gory and bloody and ripping out intestines and everything you'd want to see in George Romero. Just really great zombie work. You could tell Nicotero's behind that in terms of the practical, and a really good episode.
It was a great episode. I loved how they portrayed George Romero. They got an actor that was similar to how he spoke and looked, and the way the animation was done in that, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. The second part was baby teeth. That was pretty good in terms of practical little creature. That was interesting. But definitely the first part was way better. George Romero in 3D. But overall, a really solid season. Creepshow's hit or miss. You're not looking for amazing writing or amazing acting. You're going in for the campiness, the B horror, which made the comics and the movies that came out so memorable. They have a huge following, and them bringing this to the smaller screen for TV. This is, another good season. Season 4, had a great time with it. I really enjoyed, I think 5 out of 6 in terms of episodes. I think they all had at least one good episode or one story within each episode. And really great people that showed up along the way. A lot of great monster creature design, practical effects. There were a lot of great campiness. And of course, George Romero's episode being the best.
Let's not forget Tom Atkins there, his episode where he kind of played himself.
Yes.
This old guy who, didn't pay attention to his daughter, and, he's coming towards the end of his life or so we think. And so he invites his daughter and, kind of tells them that they should get married at his big castle. He has this huge property, and there's something that he's hiding, basically, that he introduces to his daughter's fiance to have to do with this large creature. We'll say that much, but that was fun seeing Tom Atkins being older, but kind of playing the character that we know him as. Really, he played kind of the character that we remember him from in the 80s, kind of like this old kind of pompous asshole, which was funny to see him, pushing 90 now. But it was great to see him on screen again. And, what better place to do it than on Creepshow?
Night of the Creeps, especially, Tom Atkins, one of the better roles from him for sure. But him pushing 90, still doing his thing, looks great for his age. He's still an asshole, and yeah, definitely a good episode to talk about. And he's no stranger to the horror genre.
Yeah, I had a great time with season 4. There's been seasons in the past where it's taken me like a super long time to finish it. This one, I watched all the episodes kind of back to back. This was one of the series around the 31 Days of Horror that we started, and I finished it pretty fast after I was into each episode. They were fun. There's only a couple that I didn't really care for, but I like the guest stars this season, seeing the actresses come over from Fall of the House of Usher, and Mike Flanagan's worked in the first episode all the way until the end, where we got the nod and ode to George Romero there, and just some really fun episodes sprinkled throughout, all different and all doing their own thing. And a bunch of up and coming filmmakers putting their own stamp in the series. And I hope this anthology series continues here. 4 seasons in, it feels like it's still going strong. Always fun to watch around Halloween. It's a great time for new episodes to release. So with that being said, overall, season 4 was a strong one for me. And I'm going to give Creepshow season 4, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 Tom Adkins hair pieces.
Yeah, another solid season. It always feels like Halloween when Creepshow's on. It just brings all the fun and campiness and greatness about Halloween and horror. It brings it to the small screen. Watching this on Shudder, always have a great time. I also, ran through these pretty quickly. Loved each episode in its own right, all different stories. And it all really worked. One of the better anthology series out there. And it's definitely a season and series to check out. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out on Shudder or AMC. So with that being said, I'm going to give Creepshow season 4. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Tom Atkins hair pieces as well.
We want to hear from you guys out there. What did you guys think of season 4 of Creepshow? Did you love it as much as we did? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to stab, subscribe. We had a blast this 31 Days of Horror. It was fun coming back to wrap up the entire 4th season. We covered the first episode during the 31 Days of Horror. We wanted to finish this up, so we appreciate all you guys tuning in, and we hope that you guys get a chance to stream season 4 of Creepshow. Until the next Cinephellas TV review, I'm Uncle Henry Adkins.
And this is Logan Nicotero signing out until the next TV review.